Academy Award winner Angelina Jolie is calling on the world to step up its response to the humanitarian crisis in Syria as the country enters its bloodiest chapter yet. Writing for Time magazine, the special envoy of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees says pleas for help have gone unanswered and is campaigning for the United States to use its diplomatic power to bring about peace. Nearly 1 million people have fled their homes in the Idlib province since December. Young children have frozen to death in the chaos, with the United Nations saying more than 3 million people need assistance.
The fighting is now advancing into areas with the highest concentrations of people, including the displaced, and threatening to strangle humanitarian lifelines. International humanitarian law and the protection of civilians have been systematically ignored.
As the crisis escalates, Sky News has been asked to hand over any footage to the United Nations that could point to war crimes.
We're getting shelled every day.
Years of indiscriminate attacks. Civilian hospitals, schools and markets targeted. Mounting evidence of war crimes. But images like these, gathered by Sky News' Alex Crawford and her team in northwestern Syria, could be used by the United Nations to aid eventual prosecutions.
There's a board of inquiry set up by the UN to investigate why these strikes are happening on hospitals which are protected by the Geneva Conventions. If you were willing to give your footage to the board of inquiry, that might be one small thing that could be done.
That's audio we've tracked down from the cockpit of a Russian jet.
I looked through these images taken on Monday with Justin Bronk, a weapons expert.
We think multiple strikes all in one go, maybe 3, 4 strikes were seen hitting this hospital,
Which was the main hospital serving tens of thousands of people in this area.
These sort of pictures are a useful piece of the puzzle for investigators trying to put together a case to show exactly what did happen. Notable that they're talking about 3 strikes on the same building, so that would suggest a reasonable degree of precision. Again, potentially with either a targeting pod or quite an advanced jet, which would point towards Russia rather than the Syrian Air Force, which has been reduced to mostly unguided weapon deliveries.
This is an airstrike on a house belonging to a pensioner.
Certainly what we've seen from the Russian air campaign and the Syrian government campaign over the past 5 or 6 years is a consistent effort to not only terrorize areas held by rebel groups, but which civilians are of course living in as well, but actually to deliberately depopulate those areas.
These pictures are from an attack in March 2018 against a Damascus suburb of Ghouta.
Using chemical weapons as well as sort of conventional bombardment is just another way to drive the population out of those rebel-held areas.
In Syria, no one is safe, even journalists in the firing line. Russia backs the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, but it denies hitting civilian targets, a position reiterated by its ambassador to the UK this week.
It makes no sense to bomb either schools or hospitals, but it makes sense to prevent terrorism from further spreading about the region.
The chance is slim of Moscow or any party to this conflict facing an international tribunal over alleged war crimes. But while journalists and civilians are still able to document this tragedy, all hope is not lost. Deborah Haynes, Sky News.